If you're getting your market advice from Facebook, this episode is for you. When markets are down, it feels like everyone has an opinion. And the loudest advice is not always the best advice. Today, we're going to walk through what stay the course really means for you if you're working or retired, and how to respond without panic. I'm flipping the script today. Ann Wirtz, my guest host, is now going to be the one being interviewed, and I am going to be the host. How about that? What do you think of that, Ann?
I think that's great. I'm happy to share what I've learned over the last 25 years.
Excellent. And also the reason why we're doing that, folks, is because Ann is actually a retiree now. She doesn't mind me saying that. She's given me full permission, and I am working. And so we're going to have the perspective from a retiree as well as in those in the workforce as well, while I still run our firm over here for all of you and to your benefit. So, Ann, let's talk about it. Why is the instinct to do something so strong when the stock market is dropping?
Well, there are a couple of reasons. One is it's just human nature. We think we should react. I should do something. I have this instinct to do something. And often we're even thinking, even if it's wrong, I still need to do something. And then we get our quarterly statement on our account, whether it be from TSP or our brokerage account in the mail, and we're used to seeing the market go up. Every quarter, hey, I have more than I had 3 months ago. And so now what's this? Wait a minute, I have less money than I had 3 months ago? No, that's not how this is supposed to work. And so we feel obligated to do something to correct that.
Yes. And then there's also loss aversion, isn't there? I mean, when you're seeing things going down, you're like, we have to do something about this, right? We have to solve it. A lot of people want to solve things. Men always want to come up with a solution. Sometimes there isn't a solution per se, or we're gonna touch on what that solution might be.
Yeah.
Or the right decision might be no decision, right?
Do nothing.
Yeah. What is that one expression called? It's called, here, let me go find that. Recency bias. Recency bias is decisions being skewed due to the newest or freshest information. It causes investors to panic sell during market drops. And we also know that oftentimes people want to buy when things look so rosy. And that's not the time to buy either. What is it that Buffett said? When they're yelling like they're exuberant, wow, things are wonderful, you're selling. And when they're crying, you're buying, right? I don't know if you've heard that before or not, Ann. Yeah. And so, let's talk about what does stay the course actually mean in a real plan, Ann?
Well, once you have your plan, that plan has built into it market volatility. It understands when you're doing that planning that the market does not always go up, that there are time frames. I've lived through 2 bear markets, significant bear markets in my career. If we look at 2000 to 2011, essentially the S&P 500 was the same place in 2011 that it was in 2000. So we went 11 years with nothing happening. Was there anything you could have done about that? No. And so, but built into your plan is there will be time frames when the market doesn't go up, and that's already planned into your strategy. So just staying the course, which is not the easiest thing in the world to do. It's simple advice, but not necessarily easy to do. But to just say, no, this is my plan, and I trust that it will work even when the market does exactly what we knew it was going to do.
Okay, great. So when we talk about having a plan, let's say I'm 40 years old or I'm 60 years old. we've got to make sure that the plan has aspects addressing possibly my timeline and my needs for the money. Is that right?
Of course, because if I'm still working, if I'm 40 and I plan to work till I'm 62, I have 22 years for this market to recover and maybe stabilize and then become volatile again. But if I'm working and contributing to my thrift savings plan or a 401k, those market downturns are actually an opportunity because the share price just went down. If you continue to contribute at the same level, I'm still contributing $500 every paycheck. I'm buying more shares as we go. And as the market recovers, those shares are more valuable. I own more of them. I recover more quickly.
Aha. Okay. So there you are. Yeah, you're using dollar cost averaging as you go forward every 2 weeks, buying in. Um,
Yes.
in fact, Ann, I was using a SEP IRA for years. I could put a lot of money into it, but I no longer was able to do that when I had teammates that were staying with me for a long period of time. And now I've I love it. For the last 3 or 4 years, I'm able to use dollar cost averaging. I'm able to buy in every 2 weeks off of our 401k at our firm. And it just feels great that I don't look at it. I don't look at it. And I
No,
am
it
making
doesn't
no
matter.
suggestions for anyone because my wife's in large, mid, and small, and I'm in I don't know, some information technology is what I'm in. I know what I'm in, and it's very volatile. And she said, "How come your account's more than mine?" Well, guess what? I haven't looked at it recently because maybe it's not as much as hers anymore. I don't know, and I don't care because I don't need the money for
You don't need it yet.
a good decade or more, and so I'm not interested. I don't want to know now. As I get within 3.5 years from retirement, I know you're
Mm-hmm.
even more conservative. I think you used to say 5 years. You need to start.
Mm-hmm.
You need to start considering that. And so when you said you stick to your plan, I want to define it a little bit more here. So let's say we are getting closer to retirement now, Ann. Let's say we're within 5 years of retirement. What should we be considering inside our plan? Let's say all we have to access is our TSP or 401k. What what might we want to consider, right? Inside of our plan.
You might consider starting to shift to a more conservative allocation that allows you to have a guaranteed piece that you can draw from when you want to retire in 3, 4, 5 years. You've started to just apportion a piece, maybe to the G fund or the G and the F fund, so that you, no matter what happens, if you retire into a bear market, you still have access to funds. It doesn't keep you from retiring. It allows you to still just follow your plan. But that plan accounted for the fact that over time, I may want to choose different options based on my proximity to retirement.
Aha, there it is. So you've got to have a plan that includes some bedrock money. I always say, a home is built on a foundation that's not built of sand. Because during market volatility, your foundation, if it's built on sand, can start to waste away in a big storm, and then your walls of your house start to fall down. So you got to put down something really stable that you can count on. And once you get that layered in, then you can build and not worry about your walls and the roof of your financial house. So this is what Ann's talking about right now. Possibly apportioning some percentage of your portfolio over to the G fund, the F fund, and rebalancing. And if it gets confusing to you, you can always say, well, what year is it now? And how many years from retirement am I? And I can add that year plus whatever it is 5 years from now. And you can select a life cycle fund, or if you're in a 401k, they all have target funds that will allocate automatically for you towards more conservative as the time clicks on and you get closer and closer and closer towards your retirement date. What do you
Which
think of
just
that?
gives you predictability. That's what you're really looking for, is predictability.
Yeah. Now, at 59 and a half, folks, while still working, there's a myriad of things that can be accomplished and that you can co-author your own written retirement income plan that has the bedrock foundation built into it for your financial house that gives you assurances. But if you're up to that point and you can't, then there are things you can do. So, Anne, how does having a pension change the conversation for federal employees and retirees?
Well, when you talk about bedrock or the foundation, that's what that federal pension provides. Now it's not subject to market volatility. We know those funds are going to come to you based on when you retired monthly for the rest of your life. That money is always coming. That income is always going to be there. You can count on that. So that's one piece you don't have to worry about. You don't have to be concerned about that piece.
That's right. You don't. And what's more is that pension, although it may not track inflation, at least it has historically about a 2% cost of living adjustment. And so with that pension, you don't have to lean on your portfolio as heavily. So you're not like others, you're not pulling out as much to churn out the predictable monthly income because you've got an extra payment in addition to Social Security. And so even with that, you still are going to need a strategy. Without a doubt, you're going to need a strategy. In fact, it may allow you to strategize, more proficiently because you can lean more on 2 pensions. Maybe if you're retired military, even 3, but it'll allow you more freedom to strategize and possibly even remove taxes from your other retirement savings. Okay, so Ann, what's your simplest down market checklist for retirees?
Well, the simplest thing I could give you would be do nothing. You've created this plan. The strategy works. Avoid that instinct you have to, oh, I should make a change. I know this is my plan, but I'm going to move out of the C fund and I'm going to go all to the G fund. I'm going to try to time the market. And so if you said you can only do one thing, I would encourage you to do nothing.
Okay. Yes. You might want to avoid any big changes, right? But again, I'm reminded that if you have a plan and it doesn't include money set aside for income, and you're within 3 to 3.5 years from retirement, then maybe you need to rethink your plan, right? But no big changes right now. We had a massive market downturn in 2022 when interest rates went up. And again, folks were reminded right then that it's not smart to not have a plan. And some that were planning on retiring at the end of the year extended their careers another year or 2 because they didn't have a plan. What is that other expression Buffett says? When the tide goes out, you find out.
We find out who's naked.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Who wasn't planning at all, right? Yeah. Yeah. So check your availability with liquidity and cash and confirm what your monthly expenses are. But more importantly, how are you going to create the income from that? You cannot. Well, you can. Let me say this to be compliant. It is strongly suggested that you do not take money from an asset that has just suffered losses because that same balance may not recover. If you got $1 million and you're down to 900,000 and you pull out just 4% or 40 grand for income, you've really hurt that 900,000's ability to get back to 1 million. Negative numbers are retiree.
That's just math.
It's just math. And if we show you the math, you'd be really surprised at what you see. Yeah. And what are the biggest mistakes you see people make? I think you mentioned them already, didn't you? About
Well, it's
sudden.
that thinking you can time the market. Like, oh, I don't want any more losses, so I'm going to abandon my plan and I'm going to move all to the G fund. This is the one that makes me the most nervous for them. Is I'm going to move to the G fund, and when things correct and they turn around and everything's safe again, then I'll move back to the stock index fund, CSRI. Then I'll go back once it's safe to be back in the water. But what do you have to do if you move everything to the G fund? You actually have to make two decisions, right? When to get out. That's the easier one. When are you getting back in, Charles?
Oh, that's so difficult. You'll see a day where it goes up 3 and 4%, over 2 or 3 days, and you'll think it's time to get back in. Then it'll go down again. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you trying to time the market? What? I mean, professionals get this wrong constantly, right? 9 out of 10 times. What if you're wrong? No, no, you can't. Yeah. Thank you, Ann, for pointing that out. That's two different decisions. You got to get them both right. When do you get out? Which is easier. You might get out on the way down. You might get out at the bottom. You might get right, which is horrible if you get out at the bottom and then you're not going back in. I've seen so many people make this mistake. So many people. Please don't make that mistake. The panic sale, the overall sell to the G fund. The one thing you should not do is sell all of your balance. Never, ever, ever. And are you aware of what the L income fund, the most conservative life cycle fund at TSP, what the percentage in the G fund is now?
I know that it's shifting. It's actually becoming less,
Yeah,
right?
when we met, it was probably 74%, and it's been sliding ever since. It's at 67% now. So with confidence, I could tell you, if you're wanting to sell off, you ought to keep at least 37% at work in other funds and not in the G fund. I'm going to tell you that right now. And what's more is, in a market downturn, the one thing you always want to do in a market downturn is your future contributions. That's every 2 weeks. That's not your balance. I'm just pointing out your future contributions. If you've been buying stock, the CS&I funds all along, or at your 401k, the S&P 500, whatever, what have you, why would you stop doing that? Because now you're buying on sale. When you go to, let's pick a store that's still around. Is Macy's still around, or Nordstrom's? When you go to Macy's and they have a 30% off sale, and then there's an extra 10% off at the register because the attendant has a coupon there. Do you say, oh, no, I don't want that extra 10%. I want Macy's to keep it, or I want Nordstrom's to keep that money? No, you buy it on sale, right? If there's a factory rebate, you're thrilled, right? So why would you rob yourself now? Why would you pay retail when now you can buy things on sale every 2 weeks? You're going to buy on sale. So please continue to buy on sale. Don't stop that every 2 week buying. That's your dollar cost averaging. That's going to save you. Okay. Now I've got to tell y'all something. Ann, that's a good wrap on that. Stick around here because we have a special announcement, 2 special announcements at the end of this podcast. But Ann, why don't you give us a health tip for what's happening maybe right now while you're in your home in Maui, and why it seems appropriate. Yeah.
Well, it seems appropriate, not just if you were in Maui, where we recently had a very strong Kona storm that caused high levels of rainfall, strong winds, and a lot of flooding. When you have those events, water can be compromised and your electricity can go out. You live in California, where you've had a lot of wildfires. They're having a huge wildfire in western Nebraska right now. They've had a huge blizzard in Michigan. All across our country, we've had all of these major weather-related type of events. And somehow we maybe think that it won't ever happen to us. But I encourage you to put together a little emergency preparedness kit, if you will. You can actually buy it already done for you, or you can certainly put it together for yourself. But an easy one is make sure that you always have available drinking water. You can either buy those big jugs of water or you can buy cases of water. But you always want to have access to clean drinking water. And then if your water goes out, guess what you're not doing? Well, you're not taking a shower, but you're not flushing the toilet. And so prior to these storms, or when there's an expectation, if you have a bathtub, fill that bathtub with water, because that water is perfectly good to use for flushing your toilet.
And I told Ann it's perfectly good to use to bathe in, and you still use it to flush your toilet, right? Because nobody cares
Right.
what the condition of that water is to flush the toilet. So have water. I buy a case of this New Zealand spring water from Trader Joe's, and that's my go bag. The idea is I grab a case of the water. Thing is, every couple months, every 3 or 4 months, you got to rotate it out and use it up.
Yeah. Drink it and
and then get
buy
another
a new
one.
one.
Yeah. Okay. So are you ready for the special announcement?
I can't wait.
Okay. So this is our 100th podcast episode, and we've had 1 million views on our channel. We have surpassed 1 million views. How about that? So that's awesome. Amazing. It is, because I always said I wanted to do a podcast with my friends and talk about these subjects that I think are so important. And I actually am able to do it. And I've got 2 friends to do it with me, not 1. How about that? Yeah. Okay. You ready for the second announcement?
What is it?
If you're a federal employee or retiree trying to make sense of what's changing right now, and you want a clear, practical guide you can actually use, there's a link in the description below to get a free copy of my book that I wrote that was released, Being a Federal Employee. There's no cost for it for the electronic downloadable version. Okay. So right there in the link, click on that and you can get a copy of that book. If you'd like a hard copy, you let us know. We can add that link as well. So how about that? Woo! 1 million views, 100th podcast episode. We have hundreds of 3 minutes on a Tuesday episodes, but the 100th podcast episode. And I wrote a book, and I'm going to tell you, there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in that thing. But boy, oh boy, it seemed like we needed to have that topic. And you can use that book as a guide for moving forward with your benefits, whether working still or retired, because it is a reference book as well. And I try to make it easy to understand and with charts that are easy to follow. And I look forward to that. As always, if you have any questions, you can always text us your first and last name and your email, and we'll get you a 15-minute phone call. There it is, folks, right there. Go ahead and click that link to download that book. Hey, Ann, thank you for being a part of this. I know Marcus is going to be jealous because he missed this episode, but we'll just rub his nose in it instead. Okay. How's that sound?
All right. And congratulations on over 1 million downloads. That's really a very commendable feat. And a lot goes into these episodes. It's not just what you see on the screen, but the background and setting everything up. So congratulations to you for staying with it and doing that.
Oh, thanks, Ann. Thanks to you too, years ago, in mentoring me and enabling me to feel confident enough to actually go and conduct an entire all-day benefits training at the federal agency. I think up to that point, I think I'd only done like 3 to 3.5 hours. And you're like, no, Charles, if you can do that, you can go. You have no problem. And let me help you get there. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you too for everybody who's helped this journey along the way. To my wife and my kids for supporting me all those years, and to everybody who's given me those little pearls of wisdom that I was listening to. I thank you for that as well. Okay, we look forward to you tuning in to the next episode. CD Financial here, where health meets wealth. Thank you all now, and thank you, Ann.
You're welcome.